Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to go from this very basic platforming example with unrealistic jumping and kind of bad animation to a more complex but much better looking and much easier to use as a player if you're playing the game sort of platforming example. This is going to be accomplished by using a Y speed variable. So right now, the way the basic version is set up is you can see it just changes Y by a bunch to go up and then changes Y by a little bit gradually each time it goes through the forever loop, but just changes Y again to go down. And you can see it's kind of just goes up and then falls in a sort of linear way. It doesn't do a good job of simulating gravity because the way gravity works is you go faster and faster as the longer you fall. Just think about how what really happens if you like jump and then fall down, or if you jump off of something, you accelerate towards the ground. So we're going to use a variable to try to simulate that. So the way it's going to work is you'll need a variable for Y speed. So I already have one here in this, but just click make a variable, type Y speed, click OK, and I already had one, so I'm just going to delete that extra one. And then you're going to use this Y speed variable to control the movement along the y-axis instead of just change y. So instead of changing y by a specific number, we're going to change y by y speed, which means y speed, you can see it's already falling. Y speed will have to be set to 0 at the beginning. So I take my cat and bring it up. The cat's not going anywhere. If y speed is a negative number, the cat's going to change y by a negative number. It'll go down. If the y speed is a positive number, it's going to change y by a positive number, so the cat will go up. And this is inside the forever loop, so it's just always happening. It's always changing y by y speed. So right now we have our jump key, if key space is pressed, and the cat is either on the floor, that's y position less than a certain number, or touching a platform. So that's trying to simulate, you can only jump if your feet are on something, so you have to be on the floor or standing on something, then that will enable jumping. So let's set y speed to a positive number. Okay. That worked. It flew away. The problem is there's no gravity, right? So y speed is set to 15, and see, I'll make the variable show y speed is still 15. So how are we going to deal with that? Well, we need to, if you're not pressing the space key any other time, it's just going to have to fall. So if it's right here, if the y position is off the floor and you're not touching a platform, so this right here means if y position is greater than negative 83, this is the floor y value that I chose, greater than negative 83, that means it's in the air. So if the cat is in the air, I want it to fall. So I'm going to change y speed by negative 1. And you see the cat falls. So why did I use change here and set here? Well, I used set because I wanted to set the maximum speed right when the jump starts. Because if you think about when you first jump, you're going fast, but then gravity takes hold and starts pulling you down. So this is the part where gravity takes hold. And it'll gradually slow that y speed. You can see when I press the space key, y speed is a positive number at first, kind of broke it there. Y speed is a positive number at first until gravity, and then gravity, this right here, this orange block, changes y speed by 1 each time through the forever loop. So it goes from 15 to 14 to 13, keeps going down and down and down and down. And so as it's going up, it's slowing down and eventually stops moving up and starts moving down. Slower at first, but then it accelerates towards the ground and eventually hits the ground and stops. Now it's not really hitting the floor as I defined it. It's not stopping at negative 83. There's a little bug right here. There's a little bug in this right now that we have to take care of. And that is, it really needs to stop. It needs to just be set to 0. It needs to stop going down as soon as it hits that floor position. And so that is going to be if it's in the air and it's not touching a platform, we're going to change its y speed by -1. If space key is pressed, let's try. We're gonna need an else. So what we really need to do is have an else block instead of just a simple if block. Because what needs to happen is that as it's falling, eventually it just has to reach the floor. So let's try. If it's in the air and not touching a platform, then it's falling. Else, let's just set that speed to 0. Because it's not in the air, it's not in the air anymore, so it shouldn't have any speed. The only exception, I don't want to be overwriting. I think maybe this will work. Let's see if this works. Falls and it stops. Yeah. The one exception, I think I need to change the order here, is that if you hit the space key, you don't want that 0 to overwrite it, because it has to be in this order. So if it's this set y speed to 15 for when you jump has to be after this if else thing, because you don't want the 0 to be overwriting this when you try to jump, because you're still on the floor at this point, and normally when you're on the floor it's 0. This is the one time when you press the space key, it's the one time the speed's not supposed to be 0 when you're on the floor. All right, so now it should be able to jump, and it stops at the floor, and it stops on a platform. So it's doing what it needs to do. Now there's one other feature you might want to know about, and that is a different way of setting the floor. So instead of using a number for the floor, like I have here, a number is nice if you're using it with a backdrop. Let me get a backdrop for the stage, for example, that has a floor in it, and you want to use the backdrop's floor. You could, it's a little too high, but I could, set the floor to something like -108, and then that would work. However, another way you can set a floor is just by using a platform, just one really large platform. So if I take this platform example and I just stretch it out, I can just use that as a floor. And now I can actually go in and remove the numbers. I don't need to set a floor with a number, I can just set the floor using a platform. And that works just as well.